What is going on, y'all? We are back. And sorry this is late. So we're gonna try to fit both conferences into one video. We are about to grade the whole entire NFL draft that took place last weekend. Again, sorry I'm late on this. Just got caught up in the week and just wasn't able to get it out, sit down and record it or anything. So sitting here Saturday after day three. And yeah, man, like I said, we're gonna get the whole entire NFL in this one video. Last 2 years I've done, or last times I've done this is done AFC and an NFC separately. But we're going whole entire draft. Let's get into it. Starting out in the NFC, starting with the NFC South, we have the Carolina Panthers. Um, I just kind of have this in a template that I've had it for the past few years. I think it dates all the way back from the Bryce Young draft. So I think I had started with the Panthers because they had the number one overall pick that year. So I had going into the draft a need for the Carolina Panthers at interior backer, so linebacker, middle of the field linebacker. Said they could upgrade at tight end, IDL, and nickel. I said they needed a prep at tackle, tight end, wide receiver, and in the secondary, and they could use some depth in the IDL and also in their linebacker room. So you see here, they ended up only having 6 picks. Um, they took Monroe Freeling, the tackle out of Georgia in the first round, and graded this a B plus. I like this pick personally. I know there were some Panthers fans that didn't like the pick. I liked it. Ike Ekwonu out for this year. His career in Carolina is probably done. We signed Rasheed Walker to a cheap 1 year contract, 8 million. He can start at left tackle for you this year. The Monroe Freeling, who I do think does need some time to develop, can develop for a year. And then get inserted into that starting lineup. Starting in 2027. Wait, yeah, in 2027. Round two, pick 49. They took Lee Hunter, interior defensive lineman from Texas Tech. I give this a B plus as well. I talked about this in like some scenarios in my videos where I was like, hey, they could maybe go IDL first round. When it was kind of like up in the air of, what will they do, at 19. Get somebody to pair with Derek Brown, somebody just really, really solid. I think this is probably the perfect addition to add with Derek Brown. Just big Lee Hunter. Them two are just going to clog up the middle, especially on early down and run plays. I think a lot of teams, if you try to run the ball up the middle against the Carolina Panthers, you're going to have some issues this year for sure. Round three, pick 83. They took Chris Brazzell, the second wide receiver out of Tennessee. I gave this a B minus. Um, I don't think I think one, I think it was decent value. Um, and that is something that I always, factor into my picks. I thought it was decent value. I don't mind the prospect. I think it gives them a type of receiver that they don't already have, and I think this is your wide receiver three probably. I'm just, really, really out on Xavier Legette. So I think, it's, Brazel, Coker, and Ted McMillan. Round four, pick 129. They took Willie, the third cornerback out of A&M. I gave this a C plus, right around the value I had him at. And in this early that 100 to 150 range probably. And I thought this was a good pickup, just kind of a depth piece in that corner room. JC Horn has battled injuries in the past. Um, I had said they had to prep in the secondary. I think that's because Mike Jackson is a free agent after this year. Can't remember that off the top of my head. I thought that's a pretty decent pickup. And then same thing with Zakee Wheatley. I like the value here at pick 151 in round five for him. However, I just didn't, I think he's a really, really solid depth piece. But I probably at that point would have went linebacker at least. I'm just really, really low on Trevor Wallace, and right now he's probably who's going to start beside Devin Lloyd. And I was not a huge fan of that. And then if you're new here, you never watched my video before, if you see no grade beside a name, that means I did not get to watch that player. Jackson Kuwach, I think is how you say it, from Miami, Ohio, linebacker, is somebody that I did not watch. And then I noted two UDFAs, Devontae Smith, the cornerback out of Notre Dame, and Jalen Gilbro, a defensive back is how they had him listed out of Texas. Two guys that I had draftable grades on. So I thought those were two good pickups for the Panthers. Moving on to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Round one, pick 15, they took Ruben Bain Jr., edge rusher out of Miami. I gave this an A minus. I, I felt there was bigger needs, in my opinion. Um, but just the value is unmatched. Now that I'm thinking about it, I probably should have gave this an A instead of an A minus, to be honest. Value was unmatched. Really, really good player. I think it's a great pickup for the Buccaneers. Round two, pick 46. Sorry, and I forgot to mention, I had the following needs listed for the Buccaneers going into the draft. Need at left guard and linebacker. Can upgrade at tight end, IDL, edge rusher, cornerback, and punter. Prep. I have QB question mark because Baker Mayfield's contract is starting to run out and he's starting to get a little older and he's starting to get hurt a lot. I feel like, um, but not really. You know what I mean? Prep also edge rusher and IDL, which I had in the can upgrade category as well, and then linebacker also at prep, which was also a need that I had listed. And then I had depth needs at wide receiver in the secondary. So round two, pick 46, they took Josiah Trotter. I gave this a B minus. Need 100% there. Little early for me for sure with Josiah Trotter. I had him more in that like 70 to 80 range. And there was I CJ Allen was still on the board at this time. Who else? Kyle Lewis. There was a few linebackers where it was like I would have taken them over Josiah Trotter. I wasn't the highest on him, but I don't mind it. I think he's a ceiling or a floor raiser at the least for them. Round three, pick 84, Ted Hurst. I gave this a C plus, little too early value wise, but I think it's a really good pickup for depth in that wide receiver room. Probably their wide receiver four. Round four, pick 116, Keontae Scott. I get a cornerback out of Miami. I get this a B. That was a really good pickup for them. I really did. I thought they could upgrade at corner, and I thought they got really, really, really good value on Keontae Scott at 116. So that was a good pickup for them. Round five, pick 155. They took Demonte Capehart, IDL Clemson. I get this a C plus. That was okay value. Um, I think it's just a solid depth piece to add in there. Round five, pick 160. They took Billy Schrauth, guard out of Notre Dame. Again, this is a B minus, probably actually a B now that I'm thinking about it. I think he has true starter potential, and I think that, I mentioned that they need a left guard. I think that he could be their left guard, to be honest. I thought this is a great value for them to get him here at 160. And then round six, pick 185, Bauer Sharp, tight end, LSU. No grade, didn't get around to watching him. Um, or didn't have him on our radar, at least. My bad. And the UDFA notables have Jalen Daniels, the quarterback from Kansas, and Eric Rivers, wide receiver from Georgia Tech. Both draftable grades on both of those guys as well. New Orleans Saints. I don't know if my Zoom meeting control panel is on this screen currently for y'all or not. It is for me, at least on the bottom. I think it usually takes it out post recording. But if it is blocking the traded for Tyree Wilson thing down there at the bottom. But the Saints, round one, pick 8, picked up Jordan Tyson, the wide receiver out of Arizona State, gave us an A minus. Thought this was a really good pickup for them. Their needs going into the draft for me, I had a need at wide receiver and corner. I said they could upgrade at guard, tight end, IDL, edge rusher, linebacker, and kicker. That they needed to prep on that IDL as well, and then they could use depth in the front seven and second, or really just in general on defense. So Jordan Tyson, get us an A minus. I think this is a good fit alongside Chris Olave. Round two, pick 42. They took Christian Miller, the IDL from Georgia. Gave us a B. That was a really good pickup for them, especially considering I think they could upgrade the IDL room. Plus, they needed to prep for it. Round three, pick 73. Took Oscar Delp, tight end out of UGA. I gave this a C minus. I think Oscar Delp is fine. This was way too early for me. When I just watched him back on tape, I was just like, oh man, like can't really block well. I It's maybe it's a C, but I'm gonna stick to C minus. Round four, pick 132, Jeremiah Wright, guard out of Auburn, gave this a C. Thought this was okay. Wasn't super, super impressed by Jeremiah Wright when watching that offensive line. Round four, pick 136, Bryce Lance, wide receiver, North Dakota State. Oh my goodness. I don't know why I keep yawning. I gave this a C. Too early for me, first off. Second off, not as high on Bryce Lance as other people. Plus, he had already taken Jordan Tyson. I get that Bryce Lance is like a true like deep threat, like take the top off the defense, whereas Jordan Tyson and Chris Olave really aren't. So maybe you're just trying to really add in that prototype receiver into the receiver room. Okay, cool, whatever, kind of understand it. But yeah. Lorenzo Styles Jr., safety out of Ohio State, grade C plus. This is Sonny Styles' brother. I think he's going to be a menace on special teams, and I think that you have the potential while he's playing special teams to try to develop him to play in that secondary. So I don't mind this pick, but probably maybe a little too early for me. Round six, pick 190, Barian Brown, wide receiver LSU. Again, this is C plus. You had already taken two receivers, and I thought the value was okay. But yeah, but this receiver room has been pretty bad, so it's like cool. We're just gonna add some guys in there, and hopefully they're better than the guys we already had because they weren't very good anyways. I thought it was okay. Round seven, pick 219, TJ Hall, cornerback out of Iowa. Again, I thought this was an okay pick, grade C plus. Maybe a little later than I would have taken him, but oh my gosh, bro. I can't stop yawning. So therefore, I do think it was decent value on TJ Hall. I would have taken him in that, about around that 200 range, probably. Wish they would have taken a corner earlier though. And I'm not mad that they didn't, or not mad, but I'm not disappointed in them for not taking an edge rusher considering they did trade for Tyree Wilson. Who, they had the reclamation project with Chase Young, so hopefully maybe they can do the same with Tyree Wilson. Some notable UDFAs I noted for them were CJ Donaldson, running back from Ohio State, true, just like bowling ball, like gonna go through the line, go through wherever he needs to go to try to score the football. Keyshawn Silver, IDL out of Southern Cal, had a draftable grade on him as well. And then Deshaun Jones, cornerback from Alabama, also had a draftable grade on him. And finish out the AFC South, we have the Atlanta Falcons. Smaller draft here, only 6 picks. Round two, pick 48, they took Avion Terrell, cornerback from Clemson. I give this a B plus. I think this is a really, really cool pick though because AJ Terrell already being there, brothers playing with each other. I thought it was pretty decent value for Terrell as well, who I had as a back end of the first round, early second round guy. Atlanta, who I had a need at wide receiver and linebacker. They could upgrade at right tackle, edge rusher, and nickel. They needed to prep on the interior of the offensive line, tight end, wide receiver, edge rusher, and safety. And they needed some depth on the O line and in the secondary. Though they had a pretty good draft covering these needs. Round three, pick 79, they took Zachariah Branch, wide receiver out of Georgia. I gave this a B plus. I think this is a great fit with Drake London. And what else? And Jahan Dotson and Oldemez Zaccheaus, who they already have in that wide receiver room. Dotson and Zaccheaus, who they brought in through free agency. Round four, pick 134, they took Kendall Daniels, linebacker, Oklahoma, no grade. Didn't watch this guy, so when they took him kind of earlier on day three, I was just like, yeah, they took a linebacker, but I didn't watch him, so he wasn't even on my radar. So it's like, uh, you know, I don't know. Round six, pick 208. They took Ontario Thompson, IDL out of Washington. Again, another guy that I just didn't get around to watching. Round six, pick 215. Harold Perkins Jr., linebacker LSU. I thought this was amazing value on Harold Perkins, who I had a mid to early fifth round grade on. And it's at a position of need that they have for them. Gave this a B plus. And then round seven, pick 231. They took Ethan Onianwa, offensive lineman from Ohio State. They listed him as a tackle on the draft listing. I thought he was more of a guard personally, so that's why I kind of have it yellowed there for a prep type of thing. Because maybe they do plan on him playing at tackle. I don't really know. I gave this a C minus, um, just because I didn't really like the prospect, and I definitely didn't like him at tackle. I liked him more at guard. And UDFA is notable that I had draftable grades on James Brockemeyer, the center out of Miami, former top recruit, and then Malik Rutherford, wide receiver from Georgia Tech. Going to the NFC North here, we got the Green Bay Packers in round two, pick 52. They took Brandon Cisse, corner out of South Carolina. I gave this a B minus. For their draft needs, I had them listed as need on the IDL. They can upgrade at center guard, backup running back, and kicker. They need a prep for wide receiver, tight end, IDL, and corner, and they can use depth at front seven and at corner. I think I might actually meant to put corner and they can't upgrade, not prep, actually. Just want to put that out there. Before I say this, I thought this was a good pick. I thought that they could use a corner for the most part, and I think that this guy has started potential. Round three, pick 70, and I was a little lower on Cisse than most, though. Round three, pick 77, they took Chris McClellan, IDL, Missouri. I gave this a C plus. Yes, this is my biggest need for them by far. Didn't really like the prospect. Way too early for me. Thought there was better guys on the board. Round four, pick 120, Danny Dennis Sutton, edge rusher out of Penn State. Gave this a B minus. Thought it was pretty decent value. I would have taken him about 20 to 30 picks earlier, probably. And like I said, I think that they could use some depth there, and I think that I think it's a solid depth piece for them. Round five, pick 153, Jagger Burton, center out of Kentucky. Again, this is a C plus. Again, I listed center as a place that I thought that they could upgrade at. And to get a guy that I think had starter potential a little later than I would have taken him, pretty decent overall pick. Round six, pick 201, Damani Jackson, cornerback out of Bama. I give this a C. Maybe a little too early for me on Jackson, and he had already taken a corner, but solid depth piece. I think a guy that could probably go help you on special teams as well. In the round six, pick 216, which funny enough, I said that they could upgrade a kicker. They drafted a kicker, Trey Smack out of Florida. Obviously, I give this no grade because I don't grade any special teams picks. But hey, I said that they could use an upgrade there and they drafted one. I thought that was pretty funny. Then UDFA is notable that I have here. RJ Maryland, tight end from SMU, and J. Michael Sturdivant, wide receiver from UCLA. And I just thought of this right now because I didn't check UDFAs for the past 2 or 3 days. I do think I saw though that Xavier Harris signed with the Saints, and we had already went past the Saints. So I did want to note that is um, a huge signing for the Saints. So I had Xavier Harris. Um, yep, the Saints signed Xavier Harris. So yeah, I think that's a huge opportunity for the Saints there. I would add Xavier Harris there for sure. Moving to the Minnesota Vikings, I had Minnesota Vikings needs listed as wide receiver. I just think Ty Felton as your wide receiver three is atrocious, especially when you run so much spread offense with Kevin O'Connell. Can upgrade. I have the interior offense line, running back, IDL, and safety on there. Prep. I have tackle, tight end, edge rusher, and corner, and then depth pieces at front seven. Those are the needs I listed for the Minnesota Vikings. And they did pretty well on this. They did not take a receiver, however, they did pick up one that I had a draftable grade on in a UDFA contract. And I did see that. I never saw an update on that though. I wonder if. Again, I've just been super busy this week, so I don't know. I had saw that Jawan Jennings was visiting with them, but it seemed as if that's not going to happen. But round one, pick 18, they took Caleb Banks. This was a guy that I did have a first round grade on, but then that whole injury thing happened there, like towards the end of the draft process, and it was like, hey, we don't know if he's actually gonna go in the first round or not. And then ends up going pick 18. Thought this was pretty decent value. I gave it a B minus. Just because I did say that they could upgrade there. But it's actually probably a B. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's probably a B. Because I think it's a solid upgrade piece with Caleb Banks. I think he's very, very, very talented. He was my IDL too. But would have taken Peter Woods over him. And with the injury thing, I probably would consider taking like Caden McDonald or Lee Hunter or Christian Miller over him as well. Jake Golday at pick 51 in the second round, interior background of Cincinnati. Again, this is C plus. I think this is a really, really solid depth piece there. Eric, oh my God, why can't I think of their running backs' names? I mean, not their running backs' names, their linebackers' names. Blake Cashman and Eric Wilson, right? Eric Wilson? Yeah, I think Eric Wilson. Both of them are getting relatively older. I'm pretty sure it's like think I think Wilson's getting older, and then Cashman is like also getting older. So I don't think this is a bad pick. I think this is a really good piece for Brian Flores' defense for sure. So I don't mind that pick at all. Round three, pick 82, Dominique Orange, aka Big Citrus, interior defense lineman out of Iowa State. Thought this was a good value for Orange. Problem was that they had already taken Caleb Banks, and so I was just like, you need other things. Why are you taking him here? So I was just like, eh. I gave this a C. Round three, pick 97. I think this is the pick that they picked up from the Eagles when they traded Jonathan Grenard to the Eagles. They picked up Caleb Tiernan, offensive tackle out of Northwestern. Thought this was really good value. Gave it a B minus. However, I thought of him more as a guard instead of a tackle. They didn't really need a tackle. So I was just like, okay. Round three, pick 98. They took Jacoby Thomas, safety out of Miami. Thought this was way too early, so I give this a D. Way, way too early. I do think I I do think with Jacoby Thomas though that he could be a solid special team guy, but it's like, why are you taking a special teamer at 98? That's not a returner. Round five, pick 159, Max Bredesen, tight end. They announced him as a fullback tight end, though, out of Michigan. I gave this no grade, didn't watch him. Round five, pick 163, Charles Demings, the cornerback out of Stephen F. Austin. I gave this a C+. Plus. Thought this was a pretty good pick, man. Thought this was a decent value. And like I said, I had corner at the prep category for them, or sorry, yeah, prep category for them, with Isaiah Rodgers being a free agent after the season. So I thought this was pretty decent pick there. Round six, pick 198, Damon Claiborne, running back on Wake Forest. Again, or a position that I had in their list somewhere. I had this in the can upgrade. I think this is a good, just kind of like a lottery ticket almost. Like you're taking him almost at pick 200, saying, hey, maybe he pans out for us. In round seven, pick 235, they took Gavin Gerhardt, center out of Cincinnati. Again, this no grade. I think center is a place that they could upgrade. However, I don't know if you're getting that there at 235. And they had multiple UDFA notes that I have on here. I have Dylan Bell, wide receiver out of Georgia. Brett Thorson, the punter out of Georgia. I thought Brett Thorson was the best special teams player in general in the draft, like punter kicker wise. So I thought that was crazy that he didn't get drafted and other guys did. Tristan Lee, offensive tackle out of Clemson, just a guy that has a lot of experience on the offensive line and playing football. Marcus Allen, cornerback out of UNC, Tyreek Chappelle, cornerback out of A&M, kind of more of a nickel role, and then Scooby Williams, linebacker out of A&M. Thought all those guys had draftable grades for me as well. Detroit Lions. They take Blake Miller in the first round, tackle out of Clemson. Gave this a B plus. I had their needs listed as right tackle, which I'm pretty sure that's what Blake Miller will be playing. Linebacker, and then can upgrades at left guard, center, IDL, edge rusher, safety. I said safety question mark, and I don't remember why I have safety question mark on there. And then tight end, quarterback, defense for prep category because obviously like Jared Goff's getting, a little older. Tight end, maybe because I think Laporta might be a free agent. I think that's why that's on there. And then defense because they have so many injuries and they have a bunch of big free agents coming up. And then depth pieces at wide receiver in front seven. So I thought Blake Miller was a really good pick for them. And then they go get Derek Moore at pick 44. I gave this a B. Thought it was really good value. Thought this could really use, another edge rusher just across the way from Aiden Hutchinson, man. Round four, pick 118. They go to another Michigan defender with Jimmy Roller, the linebacker. I give this a C plus. Thought it was right around maybe a little early on value wise, but need was definitely there. This feels like a guy that it's like, oh man, this guy's not that good, and then the Lions draft him, and then he's good. Round five, pick 157, Keith Abney the second. I thought this was one of these steals of the draft. The cornerback out of Arizona State, a guy that I had an early second round grade on and had even put him into first round in some mocks. Like that's how high I was on Keith Abney. I think to go get him at pick 157 is insane value, especially at a position of need where like guys have been getting hurt all the time for you in the past few years. Round five, pick 168. They took Kendrick Law, wide receiver out of Kentucky. I gave this a D plus. I mentioned they need depth in the wide receiver room, but I didn't like Kendrick Law. I thought it was way too early. And then I thought they killed it with another pick, man, like Skylar Gill Howard. This was a guy that I was way higher on than most. IDL to Texas Tech. I gave this a B. Thought it was a really good pickup for them. In the round seven, pick 222, they took Tyree West, IDL out of Tennessee. Gave this no grade. Did not watch him. And then they had three UDFA notables for me: Luke Altmaier, the quarterback out of Illinois; Miles Kisselman, the tight end from Tennessee; and Anthony Lucas, an edge rusher from Southern Cal. Chicago Bears draft needs. I had no actual need listed for them, but I did say they could upgrade at center, IDL, edge rusher, nickel, and strong safety. I had prep on IDL and left tackle, and then depth pieces at wide receiver, front seven, and secondary. They take Dylan Thieneman in the first round. I gave this a B. This was kind of flirted out there that they were probably going to take a safety. They lost all of them pretty much in free agency. Byard, Brisker, whatever. Thought this was okay value for Thieneman. I wasn't nowhere near as high on him as most, but thought it was an overall solid pick for the Bears there at 25. Round two, pick 57, they took Logan Jones, the center out of Iowa. This was a position that I did have them noted as I think they could upgrade at. I think this is a little too early, but because of I would never blame a team for being like, we're going to go get our guy in a position of need, and I feel like that's kind of what they did there, so I gave it a C plus. Round three, pick 69, they took Sam Roush, the tight end out of Stanford. Really good player. I gave this a C minus. Really good player, but a little confused there. I think Cole Kmet's contract is up after this year, though. But like you've got Loveland and you've got all these weapons. I was just like, okay, whatever. Now this one was really bad for me personally. Round three, pick 89. They took Xavier Thomas, the wide receiver out of LSU. I think this was one of the lower graded picks in the draft for me. One, thought it was way too early. Two, didn't really see the need for a receiver that early for them. Round four, pick 124. They took Malik Muhammad, cornerback out of Texas. I gave this a B. This is I thought his value was really good. And I did have secondary listed as depth pieces. I think this is a really good pickup for them. And it's kind of like the same thing with Keyshawn Elliott. Like I thought they could use depth at linebacker, and they go get a guy that I think is a solid depth piece for that linebacker room. And Keyshawn Elliott, the linebacker out of Arizona State, I gave this a C plus. And then round six, pick 213, they took Jordan Vandenberg, IDL to Georgia Tech, gave this a no grade. I did not watch him. And the one notable UDFA that I had for them is Jaron Kump, interior offensive lineman out of Utah. Moving to the NFC West, we have the Seattle Seahawks, who took Jadarian Price in the first round. It was a lot of smoke around it. Would they actually do it? And they did it. I thought the Seahawks had a really good draft, especially, well, I thought their first four picks were phenomenal, and then after that, it was just like, eh. They took Jadarian Price. They lose Kenneth Walker in free agency. They go take Jadarian Price in the first round. I had their needs listed for the draft at need at right guard, running back, and corner. Could upgrade at center. They needed prep at center and edge rusher, and they needed depth in the wide receiver room, IDL room, and in the secondary. And I thought they really killed that, to be honest. Like, so you go get Jadarian Price, boom, there's your running back. You go get Bo Stevens, who I think has starter potential at guard. That's potentially your right guard. You go get Julian Neal and Andre Fuller, who Julian Neal I think could start at corner for you. You go get Bud Clark, who I think could be a solid depth piece in the secondary. And I think there's maybe only 4 or 5 teams where it's like Bud Clark really, really makes sense for them because he does have some tackling issues, but he's talented as all get out. So it's like Seahawks, yes. Mike McDonald, yes. Like that makes sense. I gave that a B. Round three, pick 99. I discussed it. They took Julian Neal, cornerback out of Arkansas. I gave this a B as well. Round five, pick 148. Bo Stevens, the guard out of Iowa. Gave this a B as well. Rest of their picks that they made, they took Emmanuel Henderson Jr., the wide receiver out of Kansas at 199. Gave this a C minus. Just like didn't really see it there with them at all. So I was just like, eh. Andre Fuller at pick 236 gave this a C. Thought this was right around the value I would have taken. Andre Fuller did have a draft grade on him, so not bad. And then round seven, they made 2 super late picks in the 7th round, 242 with Devin Eastern, interior defensive lineman from Minnesota, and 255 with Michael Dansby, the cornerback out of Arizona. Gave both of these no grade. And then I had a notable UDFA with a guy I had a draft grade on with Aiden Hubbard, the edge rusher out of Northwestern. 49ers had a confusing draft. That's for sure. They take Deshaun Stribling, the wide receiver on Ole Miss at pick 33. Gave us a C minus. I didn't mind Stribling. However, when I say I didn't mind it, I mean like I would have taken him in that 75 to like 125 range, not 33. I had their needs listed as left guard, edge rusher. They could upgrade at safety and receiver. They needed a prep at center, safety, receiver, and tackle, and they needed depth pieces in the IDL room. They go get Romello Height. Love this pick. Love this pick. Love this pick. Gave it a B. I know a lot of people weren't as high on Romello Height as I was, but I thought this was a really good pick for them with a need there as an edge rusher. Round 3, pick 90, Kalen Black, running back out of Indiana. Gave this a D. 1, didn't see the need for a running back for at all for them. 2, thought this was extremely early. Had like a 5th to 6th round grade on Kalen Black. Round 4, pick 107, they took Grayson Hall in the IDL out of Oklahoma. I thought this was a really good value pick. Gave it a B. Thought Grayson Hall would go in that like 60 to 80 range probably. So to get him at 107, thought it was a good pickup, especially with me having a depth piece need at IDL for them. Round 4, pick 127. They took Carver Willis, the offensive tackle out of Washington. I know that franchise guy, Marcus over there, was really, really high on Carver Willis. I gave it a C plus, thought it was okay value, maybe a little early, but I do think that they really need to prep at tackles. They end up taking another one in this draft at round 5, pick 179 with Enrique Cruz out of Kansas, who I did have no grade on, but hey, you took 2 tackles. Like, okay. Round 4, pick 139, Ephesians Prysock, quarterback out of Washington. Gave this a C plus. Thought it was decent value. I will say like it never really hurts to have more depth in the secondary, to be honest. Round 5, pick 154. They took Jaden Duggar, linebacker out of Louisiana Lafayette. I gave this a C minus. Thought it was a little too early. Also didn't have the need. UDFA notables. They took Michael Kamara, however you say his name, edge rusher out of Indiana, Jalen Stroman, safety out of Notre Dame, and James Thompson Jr., IDL out of Illinois, who I all had draftable grades on. Arizona Cardinals. Trey Wallace. Okay, sorry, the Zoom thing's in my way, so I couldn't see who the UDFA was. I was trying to figure it out. All right, round 1, pick 3. They took Jeremiah Love. Give it a B minus. You went in and you brought in all these free agent running backs. You re-signed James Conner. You bring in Tyler Algier. They brought in somebody else too, and you still have Trey Benson. And I was just like, that offensive line isn't great. Like, who is Jeremiah Love really going to run behind? And so I just wasn't really a fan of them taking him in there at 3. I understand why they did it, but I wasn't a fan of it, so I gave it a B minus. I had their needs listed as, by the way, tackle, edge rusher, and kicker. Funny enough, and then can upgrade at right guard, IDL, interior backer, and then prep at center, safety, and quarterback. Round 2, pick 34, they take Jace Basantis. I think it's a really good pick for them. I think he probably starts at guard for them. Out of A&M, give it a B plus. Round 3, pick 65, they take Carson Beck, the quarterback out of Miami. Give this a B. Thought it was pretty good pick for them, and I'm interested to see what they do with him this year, though. Round 4, pick 104, Caleb Proctor, the Southeastern Louisiana interior defensive line. I gave this a C plus. Thought it was okay value, maybe a little too early for me. Round 5, pick 143, they took Reggie Virgil, wide receiver out of Texas Tech. Gave this a C. They don't. I will say this: they don't have much depth in the receiver room. I probably should have put that as a depth piece potential there. So I don't mind it, but maybe a little too early for me there as well. And then this is kind of like similar to the Panthers, where I was like, man, they took my position of need, my biggest position of need for them, but they didn't take it until the 7th round. They take Jaden Williams, offensive tackle on Ole Miss. I gave this no grade in round 6, pick 183. They took Carson Sherrar, I think as I say it, linebacker at Iowa, and another no grade. Los Angeles Rams, who only made 5 picks, actually did it. They actually did it. They took Ty Simpson at pick 13. If you go all the way back to one of my first mocks of the year, I discussed that the Rams very, very, very well might take Ty Simpson in the first round, and they actually did it. I gave it a B minus. I thought it was I'm gonna be completely honest with y'all. I thought it was a great pick. I probably actually would give it like a B plus. Now I'm thinking about it. I had their needs listed as punter. Can upgrade at wide receiver, mainly like the back end of the receiver room, though, obviously. Interior backer, prep at wide receiver, O-line, quarterback, safety, linebacker, and then depth pieces at edge rusher and secondary. Round 2, pick 61, they take Max Clare, and I was just like, I gave this a D, man. Like, I really didn't like it. Like Tyler Higbee's still on roster, Terrence Ferguson's still on roster, Davis Allen's still on roster. Like Max Clear and Terrence Ferguson are very, 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 very similar to me in my opinion. So I did not like that pick. Round three, pick 93. They took Keegan Trost, offensive tackle out of Missouri. Gave this a C minus. Thought it was a little too early, and I just wasn't high on Trost as most. That rhymed. Wow. Round six, pick 197, CJ Daniels, wide receiver, Miami. I gave this a B. Thought it was really good value, first off, but I thought it was a good pick up needs wise for them as well. And round seven, pick 232, they took Tim Keenan the third, IDL Alabama. I gave this an A minus, bro. Like, maybe it's a B plus, but I gave it an A minus. Like, I had a like late fourth, early fifth round grade on Tim Keenan. You get him at pick 232 at somewhere where I think you need depth pieces at. Great pick. Great pick. And last but not least for the NFC, moving into the NFC East, we have the New York Giants to start out, who had 2 first-round picks. They take Arvell Reese at pick 5. Surprise, Arvell Reese falls to you, and you're like, well, I guess we're going to take him because he's here. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. I thought the New York Giants had one of the best drafts, to be honest. We gave that an A minus, and then Francis Mauigoa at pick 10, offensive tackle out of Miami, gave this an A minus as well. 2 really solid additions for the Giants there, man. And then at pick 37 in round 2, they get Colton Hood, who's a quarterback out of Tennessee. I gave this an A. I had the Giants' needs listed as linebacker, corner, IDL. And I'll talk about that in a minute. And then they could upgrade at wide receiver, interior offensive line, tackle, safety, and then prep at wide receiver, interior offensive line, IDL, and corner. So I thought, they didn't go get a linebacker. Well, they did with Jack Kelly, but that was late. And they didn't really go get an IDL. They got Bobby Jamison Travis, who I had never heard of in my life. But you knock out corner, which I thought was actually their biggest need personally. So I think that's a good pickup for them with Colton Hood there at 37. Round 3, pick 74 to take Malachi Fields, a wide receiver out of Notre Dame. Gave this a B minus. Him and Malik Neighbors across from each other, man. That's going to be interesting. I think Fields has the potential with somebody like Neighbors in the wide receiver room with him and a quarterback like Jackson Dart to just be able to be free as a receiver and just go up and get footballs downfield. Round 6, pick 186. They took Bobby Jamison Travis, the IDL out of Auburn. Gave this no grade. Had never heard of him until he got drafted. Round 6, pick 192. They take J.C. Davis, and this is why I think that they had such a good draft, because they killed those first 3. They got a solid pick at 74, and then they get J.C. Davis, the offensive tackle out of Illinois. I gave this a B plus, man. Like I had a very, very draftable grade on J.C. Davis. Like I'm talking about like early day 3, and you took him at dang near 200. In round 6, pick 193, their last pick of the draft, they took Jack Kelly, linebacker out of BYU. Give this a C plus, little decent depth piece in there. And then UDFA notes, Thaddeus Dixon from UNC, cornerback. Dallas Cowboys, just in my opinion, kind of a mid-draft for the Cowboys for me. So they did trade for D Winters in the middle of the draft. Do want to put that out there. So they did go pick up a linebacker, which I had linebacker and corner listed as needs for them. Said they could upgrade at tackle, IDL, and safety, and they needed to prep at receiver, tight end, edge rusher, IDL, corner, and then depth pieces at wide receiver and IDL. So you go get I just realized I didn't mark Anthony Smith as a depth piece. I should have. But you go get Cam Downs, slam dunk pick, like no brainer, right? Cool. Give this an A. Then you take Malachi Lawrence at 23, and I'm just like, So edge rusher out of UCF. He was a late riser in the draft process. I gave it a C plus. They could use help on the edge, but I just thought it was too early for him, and there was other edge rushers I would have taken off the board at the time if you were going to take an edge rusher. Round 3, pick 92, they took Jashawn Barham, edge rusher out of Michigan. I gave this a C because, again, a little too early for me for the player and the value, but plus, you just took an edge rusher already at 23. Why are you going to take another one at 92? Didn't really understand that. Round 4, pick 112, they took Drew Shelton, offensive tackle out of Penn State. I gave this a C plus. I mentioned it, like I think they could upgrade at tackle. I don't know if this is your upgrade at tackle, but I think it, gives you somebody as a solid backup and, camp competition for your guys. Round four, pick 114. They took Devin Moore, cornerback out of Florida. Gave us a B minus. Thought it was a really good pick for them. Thought it was good value. And like I said, that was my second biggest need for them was corner. Round four, pick 137. They took LT Overton, edge rusher out of Alabama. I gave this a C minus. Um, because one, value wise, not terrible, but you had already taken two edge rushers, and I was just kind of confused by that. In round seven, pick 218, they took Anthony Smith, wide receiver out of ECU, grade C, probably death piece, special teams guy at the end of the day. They did trade for D winners, like I mentioned. UDFAs, they picked up Jordan Hudson, wide receiver from SMU, DJ Rogers, tight end from TCU, and Michael Trigg, tight end from Baylor, who I had draftable grades on, especially Trigg, about fifth round. Eagles. We got Eagles Commanders, and I'm gonna take a quick break. Which in the video won't be a break, but I'm gonna take a quick break and then get back to the AFC. Eagles, they trade up, jump my Pittsburgh Steelers one spot to take Mekhi Lemon as we are on the phone with him. I'll talk about that later. Thought it was a great pick for them. I think he really fits in there, and AJ Brown's gone. Like AJ, in less than a month, AJ Brown will be on a new team, most likely the New England Patriots. Really good pick for the Eagles. Gave this an A minus. Round two, pick 54. They also traded for Jonathan Grenard. Round two, pick 54. They take. I don't know what's wrong with me today, guys. I can't stop yawning though. They take Eli Stowers, the tight end out of Vanderbilt. Gave this a B plus. So this was a really good pick for them. I had their needs listed as, by the way, a need at safety, and then can upgrade at wide receiver and kicker, and then prep at wide receiver, right tackle, right guard, tight end, IDL, edge rusher, and corner, and they could use depth pieces at wide receiver in the IDL. So I thought this was a good pickup. Like Dallas Goedert's probably done it this year. Like really good pickup. Really good pickup. Round three, pick 68 to take Markel Bell, the offensive tackle out of Miami. Get this a C plus. I think this is a guy that could use developmental time. So hey, like let's send him behind Lane Johnson. Let's let him run behind Lane Johnson. Maybe he can be a starter for us one day. Round five, pick 178. They took Cole Payton. I gave this a D plus, not because I don't like the prospect or the value spot of it, but just because I just don't like the quarterback pick for the Eagles. Round six, pick 207. They took Michael Morris, guard out of UGA. Gave this a C plus. That was good value for Morris. And even though they didn't, well, I did say that they needed to prep at guard. So it's another guy that I think that could potentially sit and learn and then be a future starter. Round seven, pick 244. Cole Wisniewski, safety out of Texas Tech. Gave us a C plus. Safety was a big need for me there. I just thought the value was good on Wisniewski as well, but probably not going to be a starter. Round seven, pick 251. They took UR Bernard, I think is how you say it. IDL out of Nigeria. I gave this a C plus. Thought this was a really good pick. When you take a guy in this international pathway program, he doesn't even technically take a spot up on the roster at all. So you can still go get another player technically, in some form or fashion. So thought this was a really good pick. Just roll the dice. Why not? In round seven, pick 252, they took Keyshawn James, newbie, edge rusher on New Mexico. Gave us a C plus. Thought it was good value. And I had a draftable grade on him. Notable UDFAs, the Eagles, Deontay Lawson, linebacker out of Alabama, Jaden Roberts, guard from Alabama as well, and then Daquan Wright, tight end out of Ole Miss. So I had very, very draftable grades on all three of these guys. So for them to get all three, really good value for the Eagles there. And then the Commanders to finish out the NFC, we got round one, pick 7. They took Sonny Styles, linebacker at Ohio State. Give us an A. Obviously, I don't think I need to explain that. Like, just absolute chess piece right in the middle of the defense. Round 3, pick 71. They took Antonio Williams. I give this a B minus, though the value was good. And I think that he, compared to what types of receivers they have, in Washington, I think this is a good pickup for them. Oh, and I had their needs listed as center, guard, which they did take a center. They did not take a guard, but they also had no picks. Edge rusher, which they took an edge rusher. Safety, which they did not take. And then can upgrade at wide receiver, run back, interior backer, corner, kicker, and punter. Prep at wide receiver, running back, edge rusher, and safety. And depth pieces, interior backer, secondary, and O-line. And then they take Joshua Josephs, the edge rusher out of Tennessee, in round 5, pick 147. I thought this was great value. Gave it a B. Plus, I thought that they could use some help at the edge rusher spot. Round six, pick 187. They take Katron Allen, running back out of Penn State. I gave this a B minus. Thought the value was great, and I think he fits into that running back room with what they have, like personnel wise. And then round six, pick 209. They took Matt Golban, center out of Michigan State. Gives C plus. That was just a solid pick. And then the only F of the video and the only F that I gave out the whole entire draft process at round seven, pick 223, they took Ethan Kaliakmanis, the quarterback from Rutgers, who is absolutely awful, and I'm surprised that he got drafted. No offense to him. And then notable UDFAs, they took Robert Henry Jr., the running back out of UTSA. So we're going to take a quick break, and we will be back within seconds on the video, but a few minutes here for me. All right, get into the AFC. Let me fix the screen real quick. Hold on. There we go. Get into the AFC. We start with the Jacksonville Jaguars in the AFC South. Their first pick was pick 56 in the second round. They took Nate Borkacher, tight end at Texas A&M. I give this a C plus. A lot of people did not like this pick. And I will say the reason why I like this pick was because I had noted in their, let me pull it up, in their like needs list or their draft list that I had for them, I noted that their one need was a backup tight end that was mainly a blocker. I thought Nate Borkacher was one of the better blocking tight ends in this draft class, and that's the only reason why I kind of like it. Yes, it was early for him, but don't hate the vision there. I also noted needs for them were can upgrade at center, right guard, and safety, um, and prep at wide receiver, tight end, guard, IDL, edge rusher, backer, and safety. And they could use some depth in the wide receiver room, edge rusher room, linebacker room, and secondary. Um, so I didn't hate that. Albert Regis in the third round, a little too early for me on him as well. Gave this a C plus. And then one of the better picks of the draft for me, man, like Emmanuel Pregnon at pick 88. This is a guy that I consistently had in the first round, mainly towards the back end, but one of my better, like one of my top 25, 30 players in this draft class. To get him at pick 88, man, what a pick. What a pick. Thought it was a huge get for the Jaguars there. Um, like I said, I had noted that they could upgrade. I thought they could upgrade at right guard and or prep at guard as well, for future free agency, or maybe for age. I can't remember. Round three, pick 100. Jalen Husky, the safety out of Maryland. Too early for me. Don't mind the player as much, but just too early for me value wise. Round four, pick 119. Again, Wesley Williams, edge rusher out of Duke, a player that I do like to an extent, but just too early for me. Same with Tanner Koziel. About the range I would have actually took Tanner Koziel, but you had already took Nate Borkacher. I know they're two different types of tight ends though, but still gave Husky a C, Wesley Williams a C minus, Tanner Koziel C minus, and then they had a Josh Cameron at 191. Thought this was okay value, gave it a C. Depth piece in wide receiver room, special team guy. And they picked up C.J. Williams, wide receiver out of Stanford. I gave this no grade because I did not watch him. Same with Zach Durfee, the edge rusher out of Washington at pick 233. And then I actually can't even I have to pull this up on my phone real quick because I actually can't see because of the Zoom control panels. I can't actually see who their pick 240 was. I see Park, and that's it. They took, I'm sorry for not knowing this off the top of my head. They took Parker Hughes, linebacker of Middle Tennessee State, gave this no grade as well. And then undrafted free agent, notables, I have Devin Marshall, cornerback at NC State, a little undersized, but I had a draftable grade on him. And then Jamari Taylor, running back out of Virginia. All right. Houston Texans, Keelan Rutledge at pick 26. I was surprised that he actually went in the first round. I mean, surprised but not surprised. Gave this an A minus. I thought it was a really good pickup, especially needs wise. I had them listed as needing a center. They could upgrade at left guard. That they could use a blocking tight end. That they could upgrade at punter, and then they could prep on the O line, edge rusher, IDL, and linebacker, and then depth and just on defense in general. Round two, pick 36, they got Cade McDonald. Again, another great pick for the Texans there. Um, Gave this an A minus. And then round two, pick 59, they took Marlon Klein, tight end out of Michigan. Gave this a C plus. okay, I guess. I see the vision, but like, eh. Round four, pick 106. They took Nawahu, I think is how you say it. I have no clue how to say his actual name. He's a guard out of Oklahoma. Did not watch him, was not on my radar. Round four, pick 123. They took Wade Woodaz, linebacker out of Clemson. I gave this a D minus. As a Clemson fan, I've watched a lot of Wade Woodaz, and I personally, if I was going to draft him, I would have drafted him in at the earliest, the later sixth round. So to take him relatively early in the fourth, yikes. Round five, pick 141. They took Kamari Ramsey, safety out of I was about to say South Carolina. Oh my goodness. Out of Southern Cal, gave this a B plus. Thought this was really good value for him and a good depth piece in that secondary. Round six, pick 204. They took Lewis Bond, wide receiver out of Boston College. Gave us a C minus. Wasn't too high on him. And then round seven, pick 243. They took Aiden Fisher, linebacker in Indiana. Gave this a C plus. Thought it was okay value for him. No offense to Wade Woodaz, but like I might would have taken Aiden Fisher over Wade Woodaz, and they took him 120 picks before him. Um, Notable UDFAs, I have Noah Whittington, the running back out of Oregon, and Jack Stonehouse, the punter out of Syracuse, because I did note that they could upgrade at punter. Indianapolis Colts, I thought the Colts had a pretty good draft. I thought the Colts had a pretty good draft. I think they got a lot of really good value picks and guys that I liked at good value. Round two, I'm so sorry. I do not know why I keep on yawning, man. Round two, pick 53. They took CJ Allen, the linebacker out of Georgia. Thought this was amazing value. Had him in my top 30 players in the draft, or just a big, or maybe top 35 players in the draft. Just a huge, floor raiser in that linebacker room. And I had noted that they needed a linebacker. I had their needs listed as linebacker and safety, which we'll get to AJ Halsey here in a minute. But I had their needs as linebacker safety, could upgrade at wide receiver and backup running back, like a receiving running back, at edge rusher, IDL, and kicker. They needed a prep at guard, running back, wide receiver, IDL, inside linebacker, and nickel, and then depth on the O line. And then at pick 78, they got amazing value in a player that I had in my top, I think, 50 as well, in AJ Halsey out of LSU, the safety. So I gave this an A as well, just because, man, like what two really, really good picks in a row there for the Colts. Round four, pick 113. Again, I had noted that they could prep at guard, and they take Jalen Farmer, who I think has starter potential out of Kentucky. I gave this a B. Pick 135, they take Bryce Botcher, linebacker out of Oregon, who was drafted by the Houston Astros and then decided that he wanted to go to the NFL instead. Gave this a C plus. Again, just like an athletic. He's kind of like an athletic playmaker almost. Just solid, like solid floor. You know, linebacker prospects. So I think that's a good pickup for them. Round five, pick 156. I just noticed that I only had 156 on there. George Gums Jr., the edge rusher out of Florida, I gave this a C plus, about where I would have probably taken him maybe a little early, but decent pick overall. And then round six, pick 214, Caden Curry, the edge rusher out of Ohio State, one of my sleeper prospects. Gave this a B, thought it was really good value. Round seven, pick 237, they took Seth McGowan, running back out of Kentucky. This is probably like the RB2 to Jonathan Taylor. Gave this a C plus, thought it was a good value. And then round seven, pick 254, they took Deion Burks, wide receiver out of Oklahoma. I thought this was great value. Gave this a B minus. UDFAs I had noticed for them was just one. It was Nolan Rucci, I think as I say it. Maybe it's Rucky, I don't know. The offensive tackle out of Penn State. And then to finish out the AFC South, we have the Tennessee Titans. Who at pick four took Cardell Tate. This was a pick that I was on like super, super, super early in the draft process that I went off of. And I was like kind of mad at myself on draft night when they actually took him. And I was like, why did I go off of that, man? Really good pick for them. I think that's a great weapon to get in there with Cam Ward. Gave that an A minus. And then they traded back into the first round into pick 31 and took Keldrick Falk, the edge rusher out of Auburn. Gave this an A minus as well. Two of the biggest needs I had listed to them were wide receiver and edge rusher. And sorry, I didn't even have it. I had wide receiver in the can't upgrade category. Their needs I actually had were right guard and edge rusher. Can upgrade at center, wide receiver, tackle, linebacker, safety, and kicker. Could prep at running back, guard, and IDL, and depth and IDL, cornerback, and linebacker. Then they take Anthony Hill Jr., the linebacker out of Texas. Another one of these guys where I'm just like, man, like floor raiser for sure. B minus. Think he's a good fit with Robert Saleh. And I think this team is going to be hard to run on next year for sure. I think this defense is definitely going to be hard to run on. And then they didn't have another pick until 142. They took Fernando Carmona, the guard out of Arkansas. I gave this a C. Wasn't too high on him. I know other people were, but eh. Round five, pick 165. They take Nick Singleton out of Penn State. I gave this a B minus. Thought this was good value, and I don't think they have a running back like Nick Singleton in their room with Spears and Pollard. And both those guys are probably gone soon, anyways. And like I realistically think like Nick Singleton could probably be their RB1 starting in 2027. Round six, pick 184. They took Jackie Marshall, IDL out of Baylor. Had never heard of him to be honest. No grade there. Round six, pick 194. They get Pat Coogan, who was one of my favorite center prospects, one of my sleeper prospects, like I mentioned with Caden Curry earlier. Um, Out of Indiana, gave this a B minus. Thought it was really good value, really good pick there for the Titans. And then round seven, pick 255, they took Jaron Kanak, I think he's how to say it, or Kanak, the tight end out of Oklahoma. Gave this no grade as well, just because I did not watch him. And then UDFA notes, I had Tyler Montgomery, the Shrine Bowl or Senior Bowl standout from John Carroll. I saw a funny video of him on Twitter though, like them doing some type of like weird like drill with him in rookie mini camp yesterday. And then I also noticed that I just on this one I only put UDA there. Bishop Fitzgerald, safety out of Southern Cal, uh, had a very draftable grade on him, high coverage, high like zone coverage safety, and then Emil Wagner, offensive tackle out of Notre Dame. Moving to the AFC North, the Baltimore Ravens. Man, it seems like every year the Ravens just always have these guys. I talk about it in every single one of my videos every year. They just have these guys that somehow just fall into their laps value wise. And again, they do it again with like three picks. Um, round one, pick 14. They take Vega Ioane, the guard out of Penn State, gave this an A. For the Ravens' needs, I had them listed as wide receiver, center, backup tight end, could upgrade at guard and IDL, prep at tackle, guard, tight end, IDL, edge, and secondary, and depth in the receiver room, linebacker room, and cornerback room. So I thought they did a really good job of addressing kind of like what I had thought for the most part for them that they needed. Take Vega Ioane, guard out of Penn State, gave this an A. They take Zion Young at pick 45, edge rusher out of Missouri. I know this is really good value for some draft analysts and stuff. For me personally, this is about the round, about the area I would have been comfortable taking him. Gave it a B. Thought it was a good little, upgrade into that room. Round three, pick 80, they took Jacoby Lane. Gave this a C plus. Thought it was early, but I understand it a little bit. Round four, pick 115, they take Elijah Surratt, wide receiver out of Indiana. I gave this a B plus. Thought it was amazing value. And they get like three receivers now with Lane, Surratt, Zay Flowers, and Bateman as well. Where I'm just like, okay, cool. Maybe they can actually do something like really, really for real throwing the ball this year. And then take Matthew Hibner, the tight end at SMU, kind of athletic receiving tight end. Gave this a C plus. This is at pick 133, was a little too early for me. But you know, I just I didn't really like it that much. Um, but yeah, round five, pick 162. They took Chandler Rivers, the cornerback out of Duke, gave this a B minus. Thought it was pretty good value for sure. I didn't really have them listed as needed anywhere secondary, except for maybe prepping at corner or depth in the secondary. So that's why I kind of just like left it not marked off, but for any reason. But yeah, Josh Cuevas out of Alabama gave this a C minus, a little too early for me. Plus, they had already taken a tight end. Adam Randall at pick 174 gave us a D plus. Definitely too early for me. Didn't really see the need at all. I don't know if they plan on trying to use him as a receiver or what, but just too early for me in my opinion. Round six, pick 211. They take Ryan Eckley, the punter out of Michigan State. Was my third ranked punter, so wasn't too thrilled about that, to be honest, if I'm a Ravens fan, but no grade there. Rayshawn Benny at pick 250, IDL to Michigan. Again, another just like, how does he get here? And of course, the Ravens are the team that get him. Gave that a B. That was a really good pick, really good value. Round seven, pick 253, they took Evan Bernston, guard out of Northwestern. Gave us no grade, did not watch him. And then UDFA notes for them: Nick Dawkins, the center out of Penn State, and Joe Fagiano. I think it's Fagiano or Fagiano, quarterback out of UConn, who had a good year last year for the Huskies. My Pittsburgh Steelers. My Pittsburgh Steelers. So we panic picked Max Iwanacher at pick 21, of course, because we were on the phone with Mekhi Lemon, and then the Eagles traded in front of us, took him anyways. We panic picked Max Iwanacher. I give it a B. I do like the potential. I really do. I do like the potential a lot of Max Iwanacher, but I don't necessarily like the pick a whole lot for the Steelers, at least. Other teams I could get behind it, but the Steelers, I'm just like, eh. Obviously, as a Steelers fan now, though, I'm like, okay, hey, let's go, let's be great, right? But yeah, round two, pick 47, they take Jeremy Bernard, the wide receiver out of Alabama. We traded up a few spots to take him. Give us an A minus. Thought this was a really good pick for us. I just don't know how I feel about his fit beside DK and Michael Pittman Jr., but hey, I still like the prospect. Thought the value's good. Round three, pick 76, we took Drew Aller. If you watched my videos, you know how much of a fan or not of a non-fan I am of Drew Aller. And how much I did not want the Steelers to take him, even though it was rumored that we were going to take him. And I knew we were going to take him, but I refused to admit it. Was not happy about this one. Gave this a C. One of those things where all the intangibles in the world, he just isn't good. Hopefully, we do bring back Aaron Rodgers at this point. And Drew Aller can maybe learn from Aaron Rodgers and actually be a good NFL quarterback. Round three, pick 85, take Dalen Everett, give this a C plus, cornerback out of Georgia. I thought it was a decent value and doesn't hurt to add to that quarterback room that one, we've had injuries in, and two, getting older. Round three, pick 96. This is probably my favorite pick that we made. Low key, we take Jennings Dunker, the guard. Well, he was a tackle out of Iowa. I think he's going to play guard. I think we announced him as a guard. Gave this a B plus. I realistically think that he could be like our starting offensive line could all be on rookie contracts very, very well, like next year. Like Fautanu at left tackle, moving from right. Iwanacher at right tackle. Dunker at left guard, McCormick at right, Zach Frazier at center. Round four, pick 121. We took Caden Wetjen, wide receiver out of Iowa. I gave this a C minus. I gave this a C minus because of how much I believe in him in the run game. That is the only reason why. Way too early receiver wise. I completely understand that, but I think he is by far the biggest return threat in this draft class. And he's an absolute animal in return game. And one of our biggest issues last year, like we literally lost to the Seahawks because of special teams returning. So like really good pick for us in my or okay pick for us in my opinion. Round five, pick 169. We took Riley Nowakowski, fullback slash tight end. He played tight end at Indiana. Kind of like a chess piece. Gave us a C minus. Connor Hayward replacement, but didn't really like it. Too early too for me. Round six, pick 210. We took Gabriel Rubio, IDL out of Notre Dame. Gave this no grade. Round seven, pick 224. We took Robert Spears Jennings, safety out of Oklahoma. Gave this a C plus. Think he can be a really, really solid special teams guy for us, and maybe hopefully we can, while teaching him how to play special teams, can develop him at safety. Um, And then round seven, pick 230, we took Eli Heidenreich. Well, I listed him, funny enough, as a gadget. I think it's the first time I've ever listed somebody like that. Listed him as a gadget out of Navy, gave it a B minus. I think I like the potential of him just being able to, like take him or kind of around anywhere and play him in the backfield, play him out as a slot receiver, in the special teams game as well. In UDFA notes, Lake McCree, tight end out of Southern Cal, had a draftable grade on him. Cincinnati Bengals, round two, pick 41. Cassius Howell, edge rusher out of Texas A&M, gave this a B. Like the prospect, just don't trust any edge rusher going to the Bengals in the draft, especially early. Round three, pick 72, the Tacario Davis, cornerback out of Washington. I gave this a D, thought it was way too early, and I didn't really see the need at corner for them. I had their needs listed as guard, could upgrade at tackle, needs were guard and edge rusher, can upgrade at. I just realized I didn't mark. Cashel as a need. I marked him as can upgrade, which I meant to mark as need. Need at guard, edge rusher, can upgrade at left tackle, tight end, anywhere on the defense. But corner would have been the last out of that group. And then punter, prep at center guard, edge rusher, corner, safety, and then depth at wide receiver and linebacker. Round 4, picked 128. They take Connor Lew, the center out of Auburn, gave us a B plus. Thought it was good, really good value. Personally, had him as my center one, and he fell due to injury, and that's the only reason why I think he fell. Round 4, pick 140. They took Colby Young. A lot of people did not like this. A lot of people thought it was way too early. I actually liked Colby Young. Maybe it was a little too early still for me, but I think he's got a lot of potential. And who else better to learn from than Jamar Chase, really? Give this a C plus. Round 6, pick 189. They took Brian Parker the second. They listed him as a center. I gave it a C plus because if you do think he's going to play center, then why did you take Connor Lew earlier? But I do think that he can end up playing guard as well. He played tackle at Duke, but I think he could play guard personally. So I don't think this is a bad pick at all. As I had guard as a need for them. Round 7, pick 221. They take Jack Injuries, the tight end out of Texas. I gave this a B minus. Thought it was really good value first off, but then second off, like I think this is a guy that could be your future tight end. To be honest, like let him develop a little bit. Athletic, can make plays. Not a bad pick at all. Round 7, pick 226. They took Landon Robinson, IDL out of Navy. Gave this a B minus. Also thought it was a good value. And to add him into that room now with Dexter Lawrence. Not bad. And then multiple UDFA notes for me here. Eric Gentry, the linebacker out of Southern Cal. Noah Thomas, the other big wide receiver from Georgia, along with Colby Young. Sayer Wright, I think as I say it, the cornerback out of Nebraska. Isaiah Nwokobia. I don't know how you say his name. The safety out of SMU had a draftable grade on him. And then Jamal Haynes, the running back out of Georgia Tech. And then to finish the AFC North, you got the Cleveland Browns, who had a bunch of picks, especially early, and unfortunately had a pretty good draft, especially early. Took Spencer Fano at pick 9, offensive tackle out of Utah. Gave this an A, thought it was really good value. Their needs for them I had listed were wide receiver, tackle, backup tight end, like a blocking tight end. Can upgrade at quarterback, IDL, left guard, center, and kicker. Prep at guard, edge, IDL, safety, and depth at wide receiver, edge rusher, IDL, linebacker, and secondary. So I really pretty much thought that they could go anywhere. Then they take Casey Concepcion at pick 24. Gave this a B minus. Little too early for me, but don't mind it. But I just didn't like that most of the receivers there I had were kind of small, so I was just like, eh. And then round 2, pick 37, they take Denzel Boston, wide receiver out of Washington. Gave this an A minus. I thought it was pretty good value, and adds into that receiver room well. So it's going to be Jerry Jeudy, Denzel Boston, and Casey Concepcion essentially. And then round 2, pick 58, they took Emmanuel McNeil Warren, the safety out of Toledo. One, thought it was an amazing value. Gave this an A. Didn't really see it as a need necessarily, but just thought the value was so good. It's like, why do you not take him there? And then round 3, pick 86, they took Austin Barber, offensive tackle out of Florida. Thought this was decent value, gave it a B minus, and it was kind of a need. I will say this: they had already taken Fano, but Fano they were discussing, throughout the process. I haven't looked into it any, to be honest, yet, but they were discussing throughout the draft process that he could play inside as well. Parker Brailsford, pick 146. They took the center out of Alabama. I was a lot higher on Brailsford than most, a little undersized. Gave us a C plus. Thought it was decent value, right around the area I would have taken him. Pick 149, took Justin Jefferson, the linebacker out of Alabama. Gave this a C plus. Thought it was pretty decent value. Didn't necessarily see the need, but I think it's a solid depth piece into that room. Round 5, pick 170, took Joe Royer, the tight end out of Cincinnati. Gave this a D. You had already taken, or sorry, gave this a D because he is not a blocking tight end. Didn't see the need there. And that is why I gave Carson Ryan at pick 248 a C, though, because he is more of a blocking tight end. In the round 6, pick 182, of course, the Browns or the Ravens always take the two teams I hate the most. They always take one of my big guys, or like I'm really high on this guy, and of course it's the Browns this year with Taylor Green at pick 182, the quarterback out of Arkansas. I gave it a C plus. Yeah, man, just really, really high on Taylor Green, and it's unfortunate that he had to go to the team I hate the most. UDFA notes for them: Tyreek Sapp, the edge rusher out of Florida, and Logan Fano, the brother of Spencer Fano, the edge rusher out of Utah, had draftable grades on both of those guys. They were moving to the Miami Dolphins, the one team that doesn't have a picture on here because they did have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13 picks. So I didn't have room to put a a picture of anybody on there. So round one, they had 2 picks at pick 12. They took Caden Proctor, offensive tackle on Alabama. Gave this a C plus. Thought it was a little too early. Plus, like I will say, like I gave it a C plus. I had their needs listed as wide receiver, guard, cornerback, safety. I'm assuming Proctor will play guard like I expected him to. Sorry, I'm watching the Kentucky Derby right now, by the way. Oh, no way. The dude, oh man, the dude that I picked to win won, but I couldn't put money on it. Can't upgrade at tight end, edge rusher, kicker, prep at O-line, edge rusher, linebacker, depth at IDL, inside linebacker. Um, so I gave this a C plus. Maybe he does move inside and play guard like I expected him to. I don't really know that they did announce him as an offensive tackle. Another thing, like with Fano, I haven't looked into what the Dolphins have planned on playing him at. Round one, pick 27, they took Chris Johnson, the quarterback out of San Diego State. Corner was my biggest need for the Dolphins. So to go get one in the first round, good pick. They did trade up to go get him, which I was like, yeah. Um, Give it a B plus though. I think it's a really good pick. I'm expecting Jeff Halfley to probably play a lot of zone coverage. So I think that's a really good fit for Chris Johnson. I was really high on him, higher than most probably. Round two, pick 43, they took Jacob Rodriguez, the linebacker of Texas Tech, gave us a B plus, one of my better players in the draft. Linebacker was kind of like the one place where it was like on, like I said, I noted them at linebacker for prep and depth categories. But I will say like it was one of like the lower end positions of need when they needed a lot of positions of need for me. And so like I was just like, but like the player's so good, I understand it. Round three, pick 75. They took Caleb Douglas, the wide receiver out of Texas Tech. One thought it was way too early, way too early, and I was just like, you really need a receiver that bad, and the first one you're going to take is Caleb Douglas. And I was just like, when there was a bunch of guys on the board there, were like, like your current room is Jalen Tolbert, Tutu Atwell at the time, and Malik Washington. Like, why would you not take Elijah Surratt there? So I gave it a D plus. Will Casimir, tight end out of Ohio State at 87, gave this a C. Thought it was like just like very average pick. A little too early for me personally, but I was just like, whatever. Round three, pick 94, they took Chris Bell, wide receiver out of Louisville, gave us an A minus. Really good team, like personally to bank on a guy with an injury history like him. Like, why not? Right? Why not? You need a receiver bad, why not? Round four, pick 130, they took Trey Moore, the edge rusher out of Texas, gave this a C plus. Round four, pick 138, they took my guy Kyle Lewis, linebacker out of Pittsburgh, gave this a C plus again because linebacker was lower on the tier list, but it's like it's such good value for a player that I really liked. I just had to give it a C plus though. Round five, pick 158. They took Michael Taft, the safety out of Miami. Or sorry, Miami. Oh my God, I looked at Miami on the screen. Safety out of Texas. Gave this a B minus. I thought it was pretty good, pretty decent value, but also a position of need. Round five, pick 177. They took Kevin Coleman Jr., wide receiver out of Missouri. Another one of my guys in this draft. They took a lot of my guys. Like, they took Chris Johnson. They took Jacob Rodriguez. They took Chris Bell. They took Kyle Lewis. They took Michael Taft. They took Kevin Coleman Jr. They took DJ Campbell. They UDFA'd Le'Veon Moss. So I thought it was good value again at a position need. Gave it a B plus. However, it's giving me Taj Washington vibes, like when they got Taj Washington late the other year, and I was like, oh, he was such a good pick. So I really like Taj Washington, and like he hasn't even touched the field. Round five, pick 180. That's Seydou Toure, tight end out of Mississippi State. No grade. Did not watch him. Round six, pick 200. That's DJ Campbell, former 5-star recruit. Guard out of Texas. Gave us a B minus. Thought it was pretty good value at a position of need. Round seven, pick 238. They took Max Llewellyn, edge rusher out of Iowa. Gave it a C. Just very average pick for me. And then UDFA notes for me there. Mason Rieger, edge rusher out of Wisconsin, and Le'Veon Moss, running back out of Texas A&M. All right, New York Jets, who had the second overall pick in the draft, took David Bailey, the edge rusher out of Texas Tech, gave this an A minus. I would have taken Arvell Reese personally, but I do understand it. I understand it for sure. I had them listed. Oh my goodness, allergies are attacking me here. Um, I had their needs listed as wide receiver, center, quarterback, edge rusher, nickel. Could upgrade at guard, tight end, safety, and kicker. Prep at guard, running back, IDL, edge, linebacker, and in the secondary. So really the whole defense, and then depth at linebacker. So I really thought that they could pretty much go anywhere as well. So get David Bailey, pretty good pick. And then the one position, if you notice that, well, I said they could upgrade at tight end. They took Kenny Sadiq. I don't mind this, to be honest. Most people are like, what? Like, doesn't make sense. I don't mind it. More of a receiving tight end, anyways. Like, was going to play off the ball a lot, but can also block. Don't mind it at all. Give it a B, though. Probably B plus, and I'm thinking about it. Round one, pick 30, they trade back into the first round and get Omar Cooper Jr., the wide receiver out of Indiana. Really, really good pick for them. Gave it an A. Think he's going to fit alongside well Garrett Wilson. Round two, pick 50, they took D'Angelo Pons, the cornerback out of Indiana. Gave this a B plus. Thought it was decent value as well. At a position that they could use. Round four, pick 103, they took Daryl Jackson Jr., the IDL out of FSU. Gave this a C plus. Thought it was pretty decent value. Just IDL was lower on that list of needs for me. Round four, pick 110. They took Cade Klubnik, the quarterback out of Clemson. Gave it a C minus one, just too early for me. Two other quarterbacks I would have taken over him, even though, Clemson fan here, but like there is flashes there. There 100% is flashes there, but there's also very, very low lights as well. And it's just like, eh. Round six, pick 188. They took Nez Cooper, guard out of Miami, gave it a C. It was just like very average pick. And round seven, pick 228, they get VJ Payne, the safety out of Kansas State, gave it a B minus, thought it was good value. And then some UDFA notes for them. Colin Lacey, wide receiver out of Louisville, and Chip Trainum, the running back out of Toledo. Moving to the New England Patriots, who in round one, pick 28, took Caleb Lomu, the offensive tackle out of Utah. They traded up with the Texans to go get him. Gave it an A minus. Thought it was a pretty decent pick. Had their needs listed as edge rusher, could upgrade at receiver and punter, and then needed to prep at wide receiver on the offensive line, at tight end, at linebacker, at corner, and at safety. And they could use depth just anywhere on their defense. Think this is your Morgan Moses replacement. Thought it was a good pick. Round two, pick 55, they took Gabe Yakis, the edge rusher out of Illinois. Like I said, this was their lone need for me. So to get him at pick 55, which I thought it was decent value, I gave it an A. Round three, pick 95, they took Eli Raridon, tight end out of Notre Dame, gave it a B minus. Big blocking tight end. Think it's a really good fit with Drake May for sure. Round five, pick 171, they took Karan Prunty, defensive back out of Wake Forest. Gave this no grade, did not watch him. I got kind of tipped off on Prunty late in the, like super late in the draft process, but did not go watch him. Round six, pick 196, they took Demetrius Crown over the offensive tackle out of A&M. I guess I did not give this a grade. So live grade here. We'll give Demetrius Crown over. You'd already taken Lomu. This is late. Developmental tackle. Maybe could kick into guard. We'll give this a C. We're going to give Demetrius Crown over a C. Right around where I probably would have taken him. Yeah, we'll go C. Round six, pick 212, they took Nnamdi Obuazar. Obiezer, I don't know how to say it, linebacker on TCU, no grade, did not watch him. And then they're kind of just like the end of the draft, I was just like, what are you doing? Take Baron Morton at 234, the quarterback out of Texas Tech. Now, I will say this. Their quarterback room was only Drake May and Tommy DeVito. So, yes, they could have used another quarterback in that room, but I was just like, you probably could have got him UDFA, to be honest. And there was other quarterback, like Garrett Nussmeier was still on the board. So I was just like, Sawyer Robertson was still on the board. Luke Altmaier was still on the board. Yeah. Then I take Jam Miller at pick 245, the running back out of Alabama. I gave this a D. Yikes. Yeah, I used to be really high on Jam Miller, and now I'm not. And I think there's a reason there. And then it's Contavious Hutchins, edge rusher out of Boston College. I actually gave this a C plus. Thought it was pretty good value. At a position that they could use some depth at. And I don't have any UDFA notes. Let me make sure one more time here. Who they signed, and there's probably some new guys since I had done all of this, to be honest. But let me make sure. Miles Montgomery. Yeah, no. I mean, maybe Khalil Jacobs from Missouri or Kenneth Harris from Oklahoma State, but yeah, no UDFA notes there for me. Last on the AFC East. Well, I was about to say North. And then we'll move to the AFC West and get this finished up here. Thank you if you've stuck around this far. We're at the Buffalo Bills now with round two, pick 35, if they traded out of the first. Took TJ Parker, the edge rusher out of Clemson, gave us an A minus. I had their needs listed as IDL, edge rusher, linebacker, could upgrade at wide receiver, guard, safety, and nickel. And then they could prep at guard, tackle, safety, and they could use some depth in their front seven. So to go get TJ Parker, that was one, really good value, but two, a need. So they gave us an A minus. Round two, pick 62, they took Davison Igbinosun, the quarterback out of Ohio State, gave this a B minus. Just not like super like I was high on Igbinosun, but I just not super high on the need for corner. I can kind of understand it, but Igmanosin definitely could learn as well. Maybe sit and learn a little bit as well. Just PI penalties is a problem, but thought the value was fine. Round four, pick 102, they took Jude Bowery, offensive tackle out of Boston College. Thought the value was okay. Gave a C plus. Supposedly they had actually listed him as a guard and tackle. So I thought that was interesting because I had noted prep at tackle, but they could upgrade at guard and prep for guard. So I'm interested to see if they end up playing him at guard this year. Round four, pick 125. They took Skylar Bell, wide receiver out of UConn. Thought it was a really good value. Gave it a B plus. Really good receiver into that room. Kind of like a Khalil Shakir. Round four, pick 126. I took Caleb Elarms or linebacker at TCU. Gave this a C plus. Really athletic linebacker. And I had noted that as a need for them. I thought it was a solid pick. Round five, pick 167. Thought this was probably their best pick of the draft outside of TJ Parker. They took Jalen Kilgore, the safety out of South Carolina, probably going to play the nickel role. And if you heard me say that a minute ago, I had noted that they could upgrade at nickel. Thought it was really good value at 167 to get him. Gave it a B. Round five, pick 181. Zane Durant, the IDL out of Penn State, gave us a B minus. Thought it was pretty good value as well at a position of need. Round seven, pick 220. They took Turiano Pride Jr., cornerback out of Missouri, gave it a C. Wasn't a huge fan of him. Thought it was just a very average pick. Round seven, pick 239. They took Tommy Doman Jr., the punter out of Florida, gave this no grade. Round seven, pick 241, took a Reed Adams, the guard out of A&M, gave this a B plus. I think I was a lot higher on him than most. So to get him late in the draft, and I had guard as a position of that you could upgrade at, really good pick in my opinion. And the one UDFA I noted here is Desmond Reed, the running back out of Pitt. Seems like a very just like Bills-esque backup receiving running back, like a Ray Davis or a Ty Johnson, or oh my God, there's one more I can't think of off the top of my head. I'll let you know if it comes back to me. Moving to the AFC West to finish off the video, we got the Kansas City Chiefs, who I had their needs listed as wide receiver, corner. They could upgrade at tackle and edge, and they could prep at tight end, wide receiver, linebacker, and in the secondary, and they could use some depth at wide receiver, O line, and on the defense. Round one, pick six, they took Mansour Delane, quarterback at LSU, gave this an A. They traded up for him. I was super, super, super high on Delane. Hope this one doesn't come back to bite me. Really like him as a prospect. Really like him as a fit for the Chiefs. Round one, pick 29, they took Peter Woods, IDL to Clemson. Gave us an A minus. Again, thought this was great value. This is my IDL one, and I had noted, like I said, that they could use some help on the in the front seven and on the defense. So this was a really good pick for them to learn behind Chris Jones and everything. Round two, pick 40, they took R. Mason Thomas. Thought this was a good pick again. Just gave it a B plus. Some juice off the edge. Really good pick there for them at 40. Round four, pick 109. It's like Jaden Kennedy, cornerback out of Oregon. Gave this a B minus. I think he's probably going to play more of like a safety role than corner. But thought it was really good. Thought it was decent value around maybe a little early than I would have taken him, but need was 100% there. Round five, pick 161. They took Emmett Johnson, running back out of Nebraska. Gave this a C plus, solid, just depth piece into that running back room. Round five, pick 176. They took Cyrus Allen, wide receiver out of Cincinnati. Again, just a solid depth piece into that room. Gave this a B minus when they could use depth in that room and really just players in general. And then wow, round seven, pick 249. How is Garrett Nussmeier still on the board? And then the Chiefs take him. The quarterback at LSU gave this a B plus. Like who else better to learn behind Patrick Mahomes, man? Like really, really good pick for them. Thought this was a great pick for them. And then UDFA's, I noted a bunch. I think they killed the UDFA game. Them and who was it that I had a lot a minute ago? It was them and Like the Bengals killed it. I feel like it was somebody that Philly killed it. Yeah, like Philly, Detroit. Oh, Minnesota had a good one as well. Some UDFA notes for the Kansas City Chiefs. Vincent Anthony Jr., who I had like a fifth round grade on, edge rush out of Duke. Wesley Basante, who had a later day three grade on, linebacker out of Miami. Cole Brevard, who I had a day three grade on, ID out of Texas. Jeff Caldwell, the wide receiver out of Cincinnati. Um, so they took they got both the receivers out of Cincinnati, both Cyrus Allen and Jeff Caldwell. John Michael Gillenborg, the tight end out of Wyoming, and Xavier Nwankapa. I don't know how you say his name. Wankpa, safety out of Iowa. I thought it was good, good UDFA, good draft overall from the Chiefs. To the Broncos, who had a very below average draft for me. Round three, pick 66 was their first pick. They took Tyler Yetum, the IDL out of A&M. The guy that I got tipped off later in the draft process about, watched him, was like, yikes. Gave this a D plus. Thought it was way too early for him. Round four, pick 108. Oh, and the needs for the Broncos I had were tight end linebacker, could upgrade at guard, prep at cornerback safety, so in the secondary pretty much in general, and then depth on the defense and mainly in the front seven. Round four, pick 108, they took Jonah Coleman. Gave this a C. Thought it was good value, but I was just like, that's literally J.K. Dobbins, who you just re-signed to a 2-year deal. And I was just like, I don't get it. Round four, pick 111, they took Cage Casey, offensive tackle to Boise State. Did not have offensive tackle anywhere near my radar for them, and thought it was too early as well, so gave it a C plus. Round five, pick 152, they took Justin Jolie, who I thought was their best pick of the draft. Thought it was good value for him. Gave it a B minus. I think it's a really good prototype tight end for Sean Payton, which, like I mentioned, I had tight end as a need for them. And then they also took Dalen Bentley late in the draft, like the second to last pick, actually at 256. Another athletic tight end. I thought it was decent value for him. Gave that a C. Round seven, pick 246, they took Miles Scott, safety out of Illinois. Gave that a C as well. In the round seven, pick 257, they took Red Murdoch, Mr. Irrelevant. Red Murdoch, the linebacker out of Buffalo. Gave this no grade. Did not watch him. But one of my biggest UDFA steals of the whole process, Tarian York, the linebacker at A&M, who I had a early fourth to late day two, early day three grade on. Goes undrafted, smaller, definitely undersized, but super, super, super instinctive and good player. So I thought it was great value for him to get him UDFA, and then Dane Key, the wide receiver out of Nebraska. One of my better teams in this draft here, one of my better graded teams here, the Las Vegas Raiders. Obviously, you start out with Fernando Mendoza, gave it an A. Feel like there's no really needed explanation for that. Um, Trayden Stukes, safety out of Arizona, gave this a C plus. Uh, the need was there. And speaking of needs for the Raiders, sorry, had them needed at quarterback, wide receivers, multiple, right tackle, guard, IDL, cornerback, safety, kicker. Could upgrade at backup running back like a receiving back, and then needed some depth on the defense. So I had safety as a need, just a little too early for me. I know he was a late riser, and some analysts had him around this area, just a little too early for me though. Round three, pick 67, Kieran Crawford, the edge rusher on Auburn, another C plus, where it's like, hey, definitely could use an edge rusher, could use just help on that defense, but just too early for me again. Round three, pick 91, they took Trey Zune, the center out of A&M. He played tackle there, and guard, but they listed him as a center. I gave this a C minus. I'm interested to see if he actually plays guard at the next level. A lot of people projected him to play center. One, thought it was too early. Two, they just gave Tyler Linderbaum like $80 million a year, pretty much, it feels like. So I was just like, could have went somewhere else in the offensive line, I feel like. Round four, pick 101. They were the team that took the chance of Jermon McCoy, cornerback out of Tennessee. Top 10 player in the draft for me. I gave this an A plus. Now, yes, there was the reports that came out early in the week during draft week that were like, hey, Jerome McCoy is probably going to need this knee surgery. And like, if it doesn't work, he might never play football at all. So I do understand why he fell to 101, but it's like, as the Raiders, where you're at right now as an organization, why would you not take the chance on them? or on the player like his caliber. Great pick. Great pick. Only A plus in the draft for me. Round 4, pick 122. They took Mike Washington Jr., running back out of Arkansas. Perfect receiving back outside behind Ashton Jeanty. As I had said, that they could upgrade, add backup running back with receiving back. Had to give this an A minus. Round 5, pick 150. They took Dalton Johnson, safety out of Arizona. Funny enough, had not watched him. Even though I had watched Genesis Smith and Traden Stukes, did not watch Dalton Johnson. Um, Round 5, pick 175, took Hezekiah Massis, cornerback out of Cal, gave us a B minus. Thought it was good value at a position of need. Round 6, pick 196, they took Malik Benson, wide receiver out of Oregon, gave us a C minus. I didn't really like late days, like late round 7 maybe for Malik Benson, but really not really a draftable grade on him. Like a priority UDFA type of guy for me. Um, and for that to be the only wide receiver that they took in the class, I'm just like, oh, man. Round 7, pick 229, they took Brandon Cleveland, IDL to NC State, gave us a C+. Thought it was decent value, maybe a little later than I would have taken him, but at a position of need that you had not taken yet. And then this is another team that I thought had a decent UDFA. They took They got Roman Hemby, the running back out of Indiana. Sorry, Robertson, the quarterback out of Baylor. Chase Roberts, the wide receiver out of BYU. Like, for example, like they took Malik Benson at 196, and I would have rather taken Chase Roberts for sure than Malik Benson. And then Xavier Sorey Jr., the linebacker out of Arkansas. And last but not least, getting this video finished up here, we got the Los Angeles Chargers, who take Akeem Mesidor, the edge rusher out of Miami, who is 25 years old, older than me, but gave this a B plus. I thought it was a really good pick for them. I had their needs listed as guard, can upgrade at IDL, edge, linebacker, and safety, and center. Sorry, and then prep at wide receiver, edge rusher, ILB, so linebacker, safety, and then depth at receiver, corner. They take Akeem Mesidor. Thought it was a good pick. The edge rusher start getting older. Round 2, pick 63, they take Jake Slaughter, center out of Florida. Gave this a B. Think he could be day 1, potentially, maybe. I don't know. Round 4, pick 105, they take Brendan Thompson, wide receiver at Mississippi State. Gave this a C plus. Decent value for a receiver like him. Just I don't know about the fit there. Round 4, pick 117. They took Travis Burke, big offensive tackle out of Memphis. Gave this no grade. Did not watch him. Round 4, pick 131. They took Genesis Smith, safety out of Arizona. Gave this a B minus. Thought it was really good value. Definitely later than I would have taken him, and a position of that they could upgrade for me there. Round 5, pick 145. They took Nick Barnett, the IDL out of South Carolina. Gave this a C minus. Round 6, pick 202, they took Logan Taylor, Boston College guard, gave this no grade. In round 6, pick 206, they took Alex Harkey, who I think had played tackle at Oregon and is transitioning to guard at the next level. Gave this a C plus, thought it was okay value and a position of need. Also thought they had a decent UDFA. They went and got Lander Barton, linebacker out of Utah, Namde Tucker, the edge rusher out of Western Michigan, as a world the tackle out of Oregon. And that concludes the draft grades video. I have no clue how long this is. This might honestly be like an hour and a half, maybe longer. So I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. I appreciate you watching. This draft cycle has been awesome, and I appreciate all the love and hope to see y'all again next year. If you enjoyed this, just subscribe to the channel. Got some off-season content coming your way, hopefully. And I appreciate you watching, and we'll see y'all next time. As always, appreciate the love, appreciate the support. Peace.